As announced on Warhammer Community, we have another box set for us Heresy fans, the Mk4 Maximus Battle Group. Inside, we're getting 10 Assault Marines, 20 Tactical Marines, a Sicaran Battle Tank, and a Contemptor Dreadnought. On paper, it looks like a solid foundation for any army, but would be perfect for Blood Angels, Word Bearers, Thousand Sons, and Sons of Horus, to name but a few. But if you're new to the Heresy or an experienced player, is it actually a good deal? And how could you get this box on the tabletop? Let's talk about the look of these models, because aesthetics are everything in the Horus Heresy. The Mk4 Tactical Marines are, in my humble opinion, the best looking adaptation of the original Mk4 armour that we've seen. They're well proportioned and they just look right. However, we do need to talk about these new assault troops. The Mk4 armour does look great, but the new jump packs, personally, I think they're a bit naff. They've moved away from the original single jump pack, and for me, it's a missed opportunity. It is great to see assault squads included as part of the starter box, the starter bundle. I am a massive fan of jump infantry, assault marines, and my pre-Heresy Word Bearers army was all about mass assault troops. However, assault troops run very differently in 3.0 and sadly not necessarily for the better. On the tabletop, assault troops are arguably the weakest when it comes to standard troops choices. They rely heavily on Vanguard 1, which is incredibly difficult to actually achieve in game. And they just don't have enough attacks, and they usually just get shot off the table before getting into anything. Honestly, assault troops are only really effective if you run them as veterans with lightning claws, though it's still a bit unclear if lightning claws are actually included in this box. However, the article only refers to power lances. As for the rest of the box, you get a generic Contemptor Dreadnought. It simply states that the box comes with a wide selections of weapons for the Contemptor, so it's a bit of a guessing game as to what we might actually get on the sprues. And lastly, there's the Sicaran. It's easily one of the coolest looking tanks in the entire arsenal, and it's not a bad weapons loadout. Just remember to see it as an anti-infantry vehicle rather than an anti-tank. Now, let's talk about cost. How much are we actually saving here by buying the bundle? Well, if you look at what's included and do a price comparison to Mark II and Mark III boxes on the DW website, 20 Mark III Tactical Marines will cost you £50.50, 10 Assault Squad will cost you £44.50, a Contemptor Dreadnought comes in at £40, and the Sicaran Battle Tank will come in at £55. That brings the individual total to £190, but that's before you factor in any additional upgrade sprues. For example, the Contemptor upgrade sprue comes in at £18.50. Now, by way of comparison to the recent Mark III Legion Astartes battle group, which came with 30 Mark III tactical squads, a Deredio and a Land Raider, this came in at £125. So if this Mark IV box hits a similar price point, we are actually getting a really good discount. However, we do need to be mindful that there is one fundamental model missing from this box, and that's a command choice, or a HQ in old money. You'll need a Praetor, Centurion or a Consul to make this a playable 1,000-point army. Let's say that you might be looking at this box as your gateway into the Heresy, and building a 1,000-point legal list can be incredibly complicated owing to how the army building works in this current edition, but here's how I would do it. First, you'll need that separate HQ. Let's go with a bare bones Centurion as part of the primary detachment, where you can also add the 2 Mark IV tactical squads. Now, you could take the assault squads as the third troops choice, but as I previously mentioned, they aren't great and are significantly better as a veteran assault squad, but we'll come on to that in just a moment. The Centurion has a special rule called Officer of the Line 2, which opened up 2 auxiliary detachments in addition to your primary, which allows you to bring the Contemptor as a war engine detachment and the Sicaran as an armoured support detachment. So how do we get that assault squad in as an elite slot? Well, your Centurion can take a prime advantage. By choosing a logistical benefit, you gain essentially a wild card slot, allowing you to add a single elite slot, in this case the veteran assault squad. For my list, I upgraded the tactical squads with a Nuncio Vox and a Vexilla. Based on the photos from the box, I equipped the Contemptor with a Gravis autocannon and a Power Fist. As for the veteran assault squad, the article states the unit can be upgraded with power lances, but honestly I'd source lightning claws, as these cost the same in terms of points and they are considerably more effective in 3.0 with additional attacks and then taking advantage of the veterans' higher weapon skill and 2 wounds. This brings the list to about 975 points. Therefore, to round the list out to an even 1000, I spent an additional 25 points putting a Thunderhammer and a combi weapon on the Centurion. This would be a fun 1000 point army and would be perfect for introducing you to the basic game mechanics. Ultimately, this is a good, well-rounded box. It gives you the solid foundation for a lot of incredibly cool themed Heresy armies, and it's likely going to be a bargain given the price point of other battle boxes we've seen to date. But what do you think? Are you picking up the Mk4 box, or are you skipping those jump packs? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.